in your area, in your community that has COVID. You can't open up. If you're at 7% positivity rate in a small community, let's say a desert center, which has like 34 people in it, if you're lucky, you cannot open up. And that's what the guy said. Those are the areas, the low-income areas, where they're saying this stuff is spreading the most, and that's where you're damaging the people most by the lockdown, because they're the ones that are losing most of the jobs and the income, and their kids can't. We're dependent on the meals for school, and we can get into the reason for that or that, but they're dependent on that, and they're not getting them as much, or they got to drive every day just to pick up a meal when they got to drive back and get their kids back in front of the stupid distance learning stuff that's going on. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't like it.
Of that. This is what you have in our society coming up today, going forward of that. And you look at that as what's going on, and you see, man, the thing did it to me again. But anyway, it was good. Yeah, it flipped on the deal. But it was the deal of hair gel. I was going to play the clip of where he says, well, we might meet with the theme park people this week and discuss what sort of parameters and da-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, I mean, that's a good start, though.
No, it isn't.
Let's try to be a little on the positive.
No.
You're on my butt all the time about being positive and not finding the negative. So let's find a positive in there for a minute. At least he's meeting with them. And then we'll talk crap when it all goes sour next week.
Yes, which it will.
But they're meeting. So that's good. Hey, maybe Disneyland will open by 2025.
Yeah. Ooh.
Positive. My kids will be old enough to walk Disneyland by themselves.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I would never.
It's stupid on that. Now this is now you want to talk positive.
Yes.
Of that, if this thing would load the this is it. We have it now. So we had Kevin Kiley, Assembly member, along with James Gallagher, who is suing Newsom over his overreaching and draconian dictatorial executive orders that he's rolling
Really
out.
quick, Carla writes in, okay, let's open up, and what's the plan for the second surge? We are on surge 3. I think the second one already came. That's when the lockdown came back again.
That's what they're giving the whole deal about scaring you to death. And Carla, are you buying into this crap? Are you still supporting Biden and Newsom and all these teachers unions and all these other assholes that have had us locked down and are, as it is, I said it was, they're hurting exactly the people they said they were going to help. The lower income, the poorer communities, the minority communities, as they so call them, which I think is ridiculous anyway of a term. They're people. They're hurting the people that need, that need the opportunity the most. And they're hurting the kids of that. The guy said we shouldn't have closed the schools down ever. That was the stupidest thing we did. That's
Agreed.
coming from the World Health Organization. Newsom, Biden. Trump is an idiot. Roy don't know what he's talking about, but we want to go by the science and the data. Well, when they see the science and the data put right in front of them, they do exactly the opposite because it's about control. They want to screw you over. They are screwing you over, and you that are supporting it are complicit in them with destroying not only the United States of America, but people's opportunities all across the world. And if you don't believe me, go look at the World Health Organization and their latest statement coming out, because that's exactly what they said.
Carla writes in, yes, she supports assholes. That's why she watches our show.
Thanks.
No, I'm just kidding. I threw in the last part.
I want to get to this update because we had Assemblymember Kevin Kiley, who, along with James Gallagher, Assemblymember, is suing Newsom on court over his draconian executive orders, not only on this, but like the one he talked about eliminating internal combustion engines of that executive order. That is not an emergency is not coming in 2035. That is not an emergency, and that is such a gross abuse of using the executive order to do something, to bypass the legislature and anyone else. Those are your elected representatives. He basically just gave you and everybody the middle finger. I'm going to do what I want. Now, tell me that is not...
But he's going to do it stubbornly.
Yes, in his own words, like he said. There you go. That they had the hearing on Wednesday. The ruling came out. They rejected Newsom's motion to dismiss the trial by a summary judgment. So the trial will start October 21st, and Newsom will have to make his case in front of a judge of that. And
Nice.
according to Kevin Kiley, put up the number 4, please, of that. If you read the article on there, and he put out in his blog, he said, so Wednesday hearing worked out quite well. The governor played and surrendered his one and only card while we set the stage for trial by previewing our case against one-man rule. We had a pre-conference trial on Monday with the governor's lawyers, and then we'll be working nonstop next week and a half to prepare our exhibits, witnesses, and pretrial presentations. Will we win on October 21st? I am hopeful resolutely, but we believe that the law, the facts, the people of California on our side, it's possible to say what the judge to say what the judge will decide. One thing we can say for sure: if the courts don't rein him in, Gavin Newsom will keep ruling California by decree. Our state will slide further into autocracy. The civic institutions will be grievously and perhaps permanently damaged, and millions of Californians will continue to pay the price. That's the battle we are in. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for your overwhelming support, words of encouragement and prayers, and uplifting and emboldening beyond measure. With so many forces arise against us, it reminds me every day what we're fighting for. Carla? Yes.
That was beautiful.
That's exactly what it is. It's not whether Gavin Newsom, whether you think he's cute or whatever. He is ruling by decree.
Damn boys.
He is bypassing the laws, the California Constitution, the United States Constitution, the California Code, and everything else. He is abusing his office. He is abusing his power.
He's acting like my 5-year-old and throwing a little bitch fit.
Well said.
Thank you.
That says it. That says it all.
But really, you can tell lately, and I mean, anyone that knows me and has watched the show, I don't do politics and I don't know hardly anything about them. But seeing Gavin from a few years ago, well, not a few years ago, how long has he been in office?
Since
About
18.
Okay.
Well, a governor.
Okay.
He's been in office for like
Okay, well, seeing him in the past
years.
to now, I can see where he's throwing like, not like a temper tantrum, but he's throwing the I'm the boss and you're all going to listen to me kind of thing. What would you call that?
Being an asshole.
Being an asshole.
No, he's a pure form of dictator, tyrant, everything else. And I've said it many times before that of this. When you do that, there's no video of the guy showing it on there.
I love you, Carla.
But when it comes,
Carla writes in, he's cute. I think everyone is just tired on both
Yeah.
sides.
go up there and see, walk around in your whatever and see if you can attract his attention. That's fine. I don't care. Just get him out of the governor's office. He does
Go
not.
get it, Carla.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't care about the of what he's doing on the on that part. It's of no consequence. I don't care if you think he's cute or whatever. I think it's
It bugs you a little bit because you mention it a lot.
No, because the asshole is ruining my life and everybody else's.
True.
That's what I'm pissed off about. I could care less if he's dinging his best friend's wife, who was his campaign manager.
Yes, Joseph wrote that in. He went to rehab for cocaine, and
Yes.
then his friend was running around saying, vote for Gavin, vote for Gavin. Why? He was hooking up with his wife.
Yes, that was his campaign manager and best friend.
But wasn't he having an affair too or something? Or was
No.
that... No, he wasn't?
No.
Is he still with
wife?
that?
The
Is
wife
he still
of
with that wife or the other wife?
Yeah, the wife of the...
The now wife?
Yeah, they didn't know about it. Why do you think Gorfoyle left him and his best friend's wife?
But they're still married?
No,
So
they left each other because they said,
Okay, the other girl.
they didn't know. Yes, both of the others didn't know what was going on between Gavin and his best friend's wife until they did find out. Let's put it that way, of that. But it's crazy of what goes on.
But I still think, with all that aside, I feel like people make mistakes and do stupid stuff. I don't think that should be
that
judged.
wasn't stupid.
But if he was the governor and did his job and was a leader as he should be, then people would forgive and forget all that crap. I mean, they would talk about it, but whatever. But if he's gonna go out there and still not be good at his job and then have all that other stuff come out, why the hell is he up there?
Yes. Personally,
I wonder how much you feel. Never mind. I'm shut up.
Personally, I wouldn't care. What he was doing, if he was doing his job properly.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, on top of that, that's why I don't care, Carla. If you won't, if you like, you like the whole deal or like looking at Gavin or have dreams about him, whatever, fine. Don't care. Stop him ruining my life and 40 million Californians. That's where we part company. That asshole needs to go. That asshole needs to get out of office. The courts need to rein him in or something. And Riverside County and other counties need to start challenging him, and Disney and everybody else. Disney needs to walk in there and saying, you know what, we're opening.
Which, I'm really disappointed in Disney because I feel like Disney has more power than he does. Disney owns everything.
Yes.
What the hell, Disney?
I wish that Orange County would get in there, just like I suggested. Riverside County, the sheriffs say we're deputizing the $3 million or so in Orange County. We're withholding the money, and if you want to do anything about it, you're coming through us. Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, and every other place is open in Orange County.
Wait, Knott's Berry Farm is?
No, that's what I would say. That's what Don Wagner, who had the press conference with Hewitt and Jim Desmond and that. I mean, that's the extension, and as I asked the Riverside County Board of Supervisors and Sheriff Chad to do, they need to do that in Orange County. Say, screw you, Newsom.
Yeah.
That's it.
My kids want to go to freaking Disneyland, damn it. I want to go to Universal Studios.
Put the sheriff, deputize everybody in the county.
What's going on with Halloween?
He had a that's coming next. We're having a Halloween and telling you what you can and can't do on Halloween.
Shut up.
And
I thought LA already shut down though.
Yes,
I
lost the video clip of that when it moved on the deal. But yes. Oh well, we're going to come out later in the week and talk about maybe possibly open theme parks and what you can do on Halloween. You know what? You can take your Halloween regulations and stuff them up your ass, Newsom.
Yeah. What? The Halloween stuff? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. I got you. Stephen writes in, I bet he's been to a key party. What's a key party?
That's a new one on me.
Yeah, it's with some white powder, fluffy stuff.
Yeah,
maybe?
probably.
I don't know. I lived under a rock.
Well, as far as that part I did too, because I mean...
But, so, those little memes that I've seen, of a car driving through, I think it was McDonald's or Jack in the Box, saying you can do this and handing the bag, but then you can't do this, and it's someone handing a child candy. What's the difference between a fast food bag versus
It's about as
candy?
Stupid as...
And they're wearing a mask anyways.
And
they're going to take off all their costume when they get home, so they're not bringing the germs inside.
It's about as...
And it's going to be outside. So how are you going to say no? And it's going to be... I'm just kidding.
It's about as stupid as, if you go to the restaurant and you have to eat outside, and then when you're there, you have to take your mask off, put the food in your mouth, put the mask back on, chew your food, and do this 87 million times while you're touching your mask 50 million times, which they said you should not do.
A key party is when you put all your keys in a hat and you pull girls' keys, and that's who you go home with that night.
Oh.
I've never done that.
Yeah, I missed that one. Story of my life, I guess. But pull up number 4 on the No, I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't. I better not make a comment on that. But
Yeah.
uh,
I think your mom's watching.
yes, have the deal. Here's the deal, and this is what we put up on IE Newswire. Look at that.
And it's
86
also
shirts.
on iNewswire's Instagram page. Make sure you go on there
Yes.
and follow that page as well.
Carla? Haven't you figured it out yet? It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption.
Boom.
Which you got Pelosi and, the whole Democratic crew up there with their smiling faces. And that's what this is about. Trump released all the documents on Hillary and stuff that they were keeping lock, stock, and barrel, fought tooth and nail not to have them released. Talk about transparency. Trump's about transparency. He said, you want to look at it? Here it is. Boom.
Your mom writes in. She's watching.
Yes. So when you go back and forth on this stuff, that says it all right there. Pull up number 4 again, please.
Yes, sir.
Of that. They do. Democrats are. I've said this. They're way more. They're more ruthless. They will go after. They don't care. They will win at any cost. Look at this whole mail-in ballot thing. I'm getting stuff at every practice. I'm not the only one. Everybody's up in arms about this. They're sending ballots to dead people that live.
People's dogs. Why are dogs getting ballots?
Have lived overseas for 20 years. They're getting ballots sent to them in California because that's when they moved from California to overseas. That's how ridiculous this stuff is getting. They have not registered or voted in California in 20 years, have lived overseas, and they are getting a mail-in ballot from the state of California.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, guys. Hi, Stephanie.
Of that. That's how ridiculous and utterly stupid, not stupid, corrupt. This is a dictator. We don't care. We can't win elections honestly. We will lie, steal, and steal.
Pretty much.
That's the Democratic mantra, the left.
And you want those
1 minute. 1 minute.
That's scary.
Thank you.
That is scary. I mean, Democrats are whatever. That's still, if you're going to act that way, that's scary. What? Why are you laughing?
Because you're becoming me.
I know, it sucks. Damn it. But you know what's trippy? So I'll get what? Oh, Jingle Pilot. Thank you, sir. I'll get jury duty, but I'll get 2. I'll get 1 of my real birthday, and then I'll get 1 from like 1936.
30 seconds.
Or something, or 63. I'm like, how am I even alive? I'm like old. I was like 89.
Well, I'm going to say you look damn good
I
for
know,
89.
right? I'm a good doctor. Thank you.
Yeah, something.
It's great, but I wonder if they'll screw up on my ballot.
Okay, guys,
I
here we
think,
go. 10 seconds.
Yeah, have you got it yet?
Steer the Line on Twitter and Facebook, and visit steertheline.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday at 5:30 on the Money Red 1490 KMET, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire. And joining us, we start live at 5 with our audience on IE Newswire on Facebook and
On YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also go to our Instagram page and like that page too, and follow us on there.
well, you're getting very good at that.
I am. Thank you. I've
Of
been
that.
practicing in the mirror.
On
I don't remember what we said. A Madness Monday.
there you go. That see, you got to. I did the one solo on that, so I'll let you do this one.
Thanks.
Coming in on that from
You're
the
so
soul.
kind.
Well, that just a lovable fuzzball
Let's not get carried away.
the right direction.
of that. But no, we had something figure out what's open on
Yeah, I
this
got something planned.
dumb thing. But No, it's absolutely crazy. We talked about the what?
Stephen writes in, going back to Halloween for a minute. Stephen writes in, I heard it's recommended to set out individual wrap goodie bags instead of handing out candy for Halloween. I say we just throw it at kids as they walk by.
I see.
What if we get one of those like or what are they? Kabuzos?
Kabuzos.
Something? And shoot them at. Well, that sounds bad. Never mind. Stop talking now.
We talked about that. We'll have Dr. Kelly Victory on here in a couple of minutes on that to talk about Trump, who just was back on the campaign trail. No issue with coronavirus, COVID-19, and all that other stuff. Kevin Kiley and James Gallagher, the assemblymen that are suing Gavin Newsom over the executive orders. The judge dismissed Gavin Newsom's motion to kick out the trial in summary motion, so the trial starts October 31st. Very good news. Hopefully we can end the reign of terror that Gavin Newsom has been being a dictator, governing by decree, overreaching his constitutional and authority as powers as governor of the state of California all across the board. We hope for a good outcome on this. If it is, this is going to send Gavin Newsom reeling on that. He mentioned today, again, well, maybe we'll meet with Disney later on in the week and talk about possibly opening the theme parks at some point before we ban internal combustion engines. I threw that in there. But they're talking about the Halloween and all the other stuff that's going on top of that. But again, it's been a whirlwind weekend, as it always is. Seems like in 2020, there's no shortage of news. There is no shortage. Donald Trump, as we brought you before the show, Donald Trump back in Orlando, Florida, back on the campaign trail, his lip-splitting self on that. Has declared himself and his doctors, I think by decree, they're letting him out of the bag. So I would say it's pretty safe to assume there's going to be no danger of COVID-19 coming across from President Trump. He's out and about. The debate should go on as October 15th. I would show up at the facility ready to debate. If Joe Biden doesn't want to stand in there, that's his problem. But to give us the medical perspective on this, we have our foremost expert on all things medical, COVID-19, coronavirus, and everything else. She's been on the show. She's a consultant to major corporations. To that, besides, in my view, the finest physician in the world. Welcome to Newswire with Stephen Roy, Dr. Kelly Victory.
Wow, Roy, I'll be on any time.
You just want to hear that introduction again, huh?
With that introduction, I'll be on any time. Yeah, we're getting some great news. In fact, I just, honestly, a couple of hours ago, received an update from the Office of the President with an update about President Trump's coronavirus testing, which was reportedly negative, and he's apparently had multiple negative tests, which is terrific news. And they've used a number of different tests to do this, so it's not that they just used the PCR. They did a number of different tests, and he is negative and has been deemed to have no meaningful virus left, so he is non-contagious. So that's great news.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
Yeah, you would think at this point people are caterwauling about this or that. His doctor issued a statement. He's back out. For one thing, I'm sure if there was any possibility that he was, in danger of infecting billions of people like they're talking about, his
Right.
doctor would not be releasing it. I mean, he has some of the finest physicians and medical
As he should.
facilities and everything else working on, working for him or on him or however you want to say it. I mean, this should not even be any type of issue with that. His doctors from Walter Reed Medical Center have just said, go for it, you're ready to go. End of story. Let's get on with our lives.
Well, even if he hadn't had, to be honest, Roy, even if he had not had all of these repeated tests, which he has had, that have come back negative and without any viable virus particles left, if you simply think about the treatment that he had, which, most people we say are not likely to be contagious after 10 to 12 days. But that's people who weren't treated with anything. The president the first day, the day that he actually tested positive, is the day that he received the Regeneron antibody therapy. So he got a huge blast of intravenous antibodies, for starters. Then he started a 5-day course of intravenous remdesivir, which is a very strong antiviral. So after having received both of those treatments, the idea that he would, have any meaningful virus left or be in any way contagious is really, really just so unlikely that, frankly, the rest of us, a commoner like you and I, would not have been tested to see if we were contagious. It would have been assumed that the virus had been wiped out. And clearly, if you saw him today, he looks back to his normal self. I had commented that I thought he looked under the weather. Even on Tuesday of the week that he was diagnosed, he turned positive on a Friday. The debate, you may recall, was on Tuesday that week, and I thought he looked under the weather at that debate. I thought he looked fatigued, a little paler than usual. He had some red rimming around his eyes. When you look at him today, he's back to his normal fighting self, blustery and belligerent as ever, and with lots of colorful language. So I think he's back in action.
Questions from our listeners, callers calling in, that they want one thing about and Trump mentioned at the Orlando rally today about herd immunity, getting the vaccine that will help defeat this virus, get rid of it once and for all, or we don't have to worry about this strain anymore. People are oh well, this, that, and the other, yada yada yada, flu shots, effectiveness, and that. Just give us an overall of what because he said the vaccine is coming here soon. Military's ready to distribute it. I can't say that word. Get it out there of that and stuff. So just maybe you can answer the questions or give a little information to the people of how all this stuff is going to work moving forward with this.
Sure. Well, to start with regard to the vaccine, let it be said that I am in general very pro-vaccine. I'm a big believer that people should get vaccinated for those things that have been well tested and for those diseases for which there's significant, risk if you don't get vaccinated. So things like chickenpox and polio, measles, mumps, those sorts of things that we've had those vaccines around for a long time. We know they're very safe. And there is significant downside if you actually were to contract one of those illnesses. I have some significant doubts about how quickly they will actually have a COVID-19 vaccine out. I know the president is very bullish on it and feels very positive that there's going to be one available soon. And I'm sure he's not just, pulling that out of thin air. I'm sure that's the information he's being given by the multiple different manufacturers that are testing a version of the vaccine right now. But all of that said, I'm not so sure that it will be available. And if it is available, I think there is some question about how effective it will be because we've never, let's recall, scientists have never been able to create an effective vaccine for coronaviruses. COVID-19 is a coronavirus. There are many of them. 25% of all common colds are caused by coronaviruses. And scientists, unfortunately, have never been able to create an effective vaccine for a coronavirus. So I'm not sure that I believe that in warp speed, we're going to get an effective vaccine for this one. Likewise, there are an awful lot of viruses that have been out there for a heck of a lot longer than COVID-19. Think HIV, for example, herpes, Coxsackie virus, norovirus, lots of them, Ebola. That have been around for decades and decades and decades, and scientists haven't been able to get a vaccine. So I'm not hanging my hat on the vaccine. I think when it comes to herd immunity, we are far better off just letting, people are being exposed to it. And the great news is that most people have such a mild illness, if they develop any symptoms at all from COVID-19, that I think it's easy to see or imagine a way that we develop herd immunity for COVID-19 simply because the vast majority of people get exposed to it, have no ill effects, develop antibodies, and lo and behold, have some element of immunity as a result. So the jury's out in my mind about how quickly we'll have a vaccine, whether or not it will be effective. But I think that we will ultimately probably get to herd immunity just because more and more people are being exposed.
Well said. I totally agree with you. Stephen writes in, how does Dr. Kelly feel about the new guidelines limiting holiday gatherings to include 3 separate households? Isn't that kind of hypocritical to the social distancing thing?
Well, first of all, none of this is based on science, Stephanie, and that's what makes me crazy. Show me the study where that was looked at. There are lots of good reasons to socially distance at Thanksgiving. I come from a big family, and there are lots of reasons why I would say, there's not always harmony.
Right.
But there has been absolutely no scientific study on this. I think that more and more what you're understanding is that other physicians like myself people are finally getting on board with the idea that all of these lockdown, social distancing, and mask wearing really is unnecessary. It's not scientifically sound. One of the proofs of that is, I don't know if you have talked about the Great Barrington Declaration.
Oh, yes.
It's incredibly important. And finally, we've got other folks who have gone out and said now, and let's remember, the Great Barrington Declaration was authored by 3 preeminent epidemiologists from around the globe. Jay Bhattacharya and Sunita Gupta and Martin Koldorf, 3 really high-power epidemiologists who said, look, the lockdown, the social distancing, the mask wearing is doing far more damage than it's doing good. It's not necessary. And furthermore, we are harming mostly underprivileged and underserved communities the worst, and this has got to stop. It was just authored or signed last week in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. They now have well over 15,000 physicians from around the globe, myself included, have signed it. 50,000 other people, scientists and others, have signed it. And people are understanding that we've got to stop this. Whether or not it will get enough traction and be adopted in time to save things like our holidays, namely Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the Jewish holidays, I don't know. Because I think there's tremendous damage being done, and none of these quote-unquote guidelines being put out with regard to how many households can get together for Thanksgiving dinner are based on anything scientific. It simply isn't sound. It's not necessary, and it's doing far more harm than good.
I just want to do one part about, and I'm glad you brought up the Great Barrington Declaration, because we did cover that, and I signed on it as a general member of the population. But yeah, it's going. But Google is now trying to suppress that. It doesn't come up on the search engines. That came out over the weekend too. So despite Google's effort to suppress this, it has grown on the physicians by about 5 times, because it was about 3,000 starting on Friday. It's grown 5 times bigger just on the physician's part, even with Google trying to suppress this.
Which is so great, because that's what needs to happen. This was a grassroots effort. It did not come out of the government. It came out of a group of physicians finally saying enough. Obviously, as you know, I've been out there saying that since the very beginning. It was pretty lonely out there, February, March, April, and May. Finally, in the summer, we started getting a few other folks saying, wait a minute. And what I've asked people to do, even my colleagues who tend to be more sort of mainstream in terms of their willingness to follow blindly the guidelines or things coming out of places like the CDC, is I've simply asked them, ask yourself, why haven't we ever done this before? Why didn't we respond this way with H1N1? Why didn't we do this with SARS? Why didn't we do this with MERS? Why didn't we do this with, and you fill in the blank. Think back through time, and we've never treated a respiratory virus this way. What changed? And if you can get people to be very honest, they say, I don't really know. I say, exactly. So let's look at the real science. And finally, this Great Barrington Declaration, I think, was brilliantly written. They clearly are passionate and caring epidemiologists and physicians, on top of being learned and understanding of the actual science behind pandemics. So hopefully this will get some traction. I think until the election, nothing much is going to change. After the election, who the heck knows if we'll get some new leadership at the helm. I certainly hope so.
It is, and on the second point, we covered it a little bit in the first half hour. But the WHO official, World Health Organization official, that came out today or yesterday and said, you're doing far much more damage,
Right.
sounds like somebody we know, with this stuff. And you're actually hurting the poorest communities, the poorest areas of this stuff. And he said exactly this quota thing. He didn't mention Newsom by name, but he said this quota thing for keeping areas locked down. And he said lockdowns are far more harmful, doing much more damage than any slight benefit they could have done. There's no need for them, and especially there's no need for them in almost everywhere part of the world right now. Yet Warden Newsom, Governor Hairgel, is sitting there putting the clamps on us tighter.
Well, if you look carefully and really look objectively at what Gavin Newsom has done, it is so transparent, so clear. They have now tacked on all of these social justice issues with regard to, two-parent households and the availability of alcohol, the quality of the tree canopy. You can't open. I'm thinking, what does that have to do with anything? And so what you're really seeing that is tragic is that many of the officials, the folks in power, are using the tragedy of this pandemic and the tremendous suffering that people have gone through, the tremendous sacrifice, and they're using that to sort of shove through their pet projects, their pet issues, whether it's, the teachers union, you may recall, when they were negotiating what it would require for them to be willing to go back to teach in person. They included all of this junk in there having to do with defunding the police and limits on charter schools and things that have nothing to do with COVID-19. And that's not dissimilar from what you're seeing out of Gavin Newsom's office, where you're saying these communities can only reopen if they meet these standards, and the standards have nothing to do with COVID. They're now all of these, it's what happens when you combine power-hungry health, public health people with social justice warriors. They're now putting all sorts of what would be called pork, if this were happening in Congress. They're putting pork into their bills that have nothing to do with COVID-19, and I find it really objectionable.
Yes, it is.
Stephen writes in and he thanks you for answering his question. He also asked, is Dr. Kelly going to pass out candy this Halloween?
I'll tell you right now, I live in the middle of nowhere. If somebody rings my doorbell to trick or treat, they're like, I answer the door with a shotgun. Nobody comes up my door.
No.
But Stephen, if I were in a neighborhood, the kind of neighborhoods where I would absolutely, and I would hand them the candy, and I would hope that they would take it with their grimy little trick-or-treating hands. This is what we were meant to do. This is a tragedy. All of these communities that are canceling trick-or-treating and parents who are afraid to let their kids go out. Oh my gosh, it breaks my heart because as much as I find it irritating, I find it sad. I find it truly sad for our communities, for our kids. We are leading them to believe that other people are dangerous and scary and you should stay away from them lest they make you ill. This is simply crazy. Kids, as you know, have almost essentially zero risk unless they have some significant underlying health problem. They aren't known to be vectors of this, meaning they don't then pass it on to their parents or their grandparents, much to the fear, we had heard that fear for a while. So by all means, if I lived in a community that would allow me to pass out candy, I would absolutely be doing it.
And that's why we love you, because you keep it real and you keep it honest.
Yes, you do, and in the and I agree with you. The whole tragedy is
Exactly.
this thing is the amount of damage.
The kids that are hurting from
Yeah,
it. It's
the-
heartbreaking.
Well, I had somebody ask me a question. I get an awful lot of questions via email and through Twitter, but I had somebody ask me a question earlier today, and she said, I'm thinking about going and visiting my mother in Florida, but my mother is 92 years old, and given her age, do you think I should go? And my answer was, given her age, you better go. No, and I mean, if I say
Yes.
she's 92, if you pass up, if we stop engaging in and participating in these milestone events, weddings and funerals and graduations and birthday parties and family get-togethers, for what? It is truly a loss. You don't get this time back. If you have an elderly parent, and elderly grandparents, these milestones, we're guaranteed nothing in this world. All you can do, and my guidance is always be cautious in the same way. Prior to COVID, I assume you wouldn't go and visit your elderly grandmother if you had a horrible head cold, or if you had the flu, or if you had, gastroenteritis or your stomach bug. You wouldn't go and kiss somebody or hug somebody or, share eating utensils with them. Well, COVID is no different. So use common sense, but I really encourage people to stop shying away from engaging in these really important, critical bonding experiences. Otherwise, we are left with just a shell of society, nothing meaningful. It doesn't matter anymore if you've given up these critical engagements and this critical time of bonding as a family and as friends. So absolutely, get together.
Well said, and we
Yes.
appreciate the information you gave to us, and we'll do it again real soon,
Definitely.
Dr. Kelly Victory.
Thank you so much.
Sounds great. Take care.
You too.
That was a great update there for that,
That
as
really was.
usual.
I
from
love how
Dr.
she
Kelly.
words things. I mean, she
Yes.
words it in such a good perspective that you can never do. So it's so awesome to have her on here. I love it. Because now I'm amped up. Now I'm going trick-or-treating. I don't even have my kids this year. I'm going by myself. Screw it. Really, I'm serious. Can I borrow some costume? Go as a ghost. No, but I do have, we're going to have someone on next week. She is at Discovery Church, and they're doing kind of like a trunk or treat, but it's a little backwards this year. Your kids need to stay in the vehicle, but they're going to come on. They're kind of going to explain how it's going to happen this year. So if you do not want to take your kids trick or treating, you have that option as well. And also we'll have some updates for Live Oak Canyon, who opened up, but their hours are limited. So you can take your kids to Pumpkin Patch.
There you
That's
go.
awesome. At least
Yes.
that's open.
At least, yeah, you can do
You
something.
can go pick out a pumpkin.
I thought you were going as Lisa from The Simpsons.
I don't remember, but I gotta buy the costume, and I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna go as me. Scary enough. We're good. Oh, but you gotta go as
Well,
Ned.
you
Ned will be so easy to do.
Yeah, they just show up.
No, like you just gotta get some glasses and a green shirt, a green polo, dark green polo. You probably already own like 3. You'll be good. You just gotta practice the lines.
Yeah, greetings, Doris. Glad to see you joined
Oh,
in.
and Joseph writes in, and he wanted everyone to know that he's the one that gave us this information. Thank you, Joseph. I'm
Yes.
just kidding. I'm being a little dramatic. Polling place is open 10:30, October 30th, beginning at 8 a.m. near him, and he lives near San Fernando Valley. So thank you, Joseph, for getting that information out. Go vote.
Yeah.
That's his point.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be a mess. The whole voting thing.
He's going to be handing out construction glasses. Oh, I need some construction glasses, too. Let me browse them.
This whole vote thing is going to be a mess. Like I say, I mean, I'm getting deluged of people. The stories are incredible of who's getting ballots. I mean, there's 40 million
Yeah.
people in California. I think they sent out 80 million ballots. The way people are talking about this,
That's crazy.
they're
I'm telling you, they just need to go gangster with it and just get blood samples of everybody. Run it through the system. That's it. Not really gangster, but I mean, why can't we do that? Go old school.
It's not going to make any difference in California per se in the presidential race because we were going to vote for Biden or whoever the Democratic. I don't see that miraculous a turnaround in California yet, although I'm hoping we get there at that time. But it's going to make a big difference in our down ticket races, and especially and there's always close races in this, that, and the other. How are they going to sort all this stuff out? It's going to be totally incredible of how they do this or how they figure it out. It's going to be a mess. Not only here, but I mean other states in that in critical, crucial states. If this comes down, you thought Gore v. Bush was bad in 2000? Holy criminy! Of that. Well, we'll be back tomorrow on a Taco Tuesday. So until
Tacos!
then, we're done.
gone.